Hello everyone, today I will be giving some tips on the very basics to 9-0 stacking as requested by a viewer. So in 9-0 stacking, this also applies to stacking generally, but for beginners I would suggest you learn this by stacking 9-0. So what does 9-0 mean? It basically means you have 9 blocks here, and then you have a well to the right, so this is the O here, as compared to, let's say, 6-3 stacking, where you have a well of 6, or a stack of 6, a well, and then a stack of 3 to the right. So here, let's say, you're just stacking, right? You're just, you don't really know what's up, that's fine. And, let's say you accidentally do this. So this here, what you've done is create a dependency. What does that mean? It means you need specific pieces in order to fill them. So this here, any well that's greater than 2 pieces deep, this here is 5 pieces deep, this is called an I dependency. So only an I piece will be able to fill up a well that's more than 2 pieces deep, right? If you try to put any other pieces there, it's just gonna block it. And here, a 2 deep well, this here is an LJ dependency. It's 2 pieces deep, right? So I won't be able to fit this Z piece in because, you can see it won't fit because it's only 1 block. But if I try to fit this L piece, it will work. I can just put it in. Whereas I can also try to fit this J piece. This will also work, so that's an LJ dependency, but there are also specific J or L dependencies where you can only put a J or L piece there to resolve it. So these are dependencies, and when you notice a dependency, you want to solve it or resolve it as fast as possible, right? So if we keep stacking, we might begin to notice dependencies somewhere. Right, so this here is not necessarily a dependency, but what you notice here is that you can only place a Z piece or a T piece to fill this part evenly. So when you have this type of stack, you want to go slow and you want to notice these. So here I notice a dependency here, so only a J piece or I piece would be able to fill it, so I can put an I piece like this. But yeah, and if I do this, see, this creates another dependency. So you want to be careful with dependencies. You don't really want to resolve one dependency with another dependency. You want to use the specific necessary piece in order to resolve that dependency. So that's it for dependencies. When you have a stack that has a dependency, you want to resolve it as soon as possible. And when you're stacking, go slow at first and make sure to not create dependencies when possible. If you have multiple places where you can put a piece, don't put it in a place that creates a dependency. So for example, let's say we are just stacking, right? And you see I can place this J piece here, but if I place it here, that creates another J dependency, and since I've placed my J piece down, that's kind of complicated. So maybe I don't want to place it there, so maybe I want to place it here. But then you see, in a few moves, I've created another dependency, so that's kind of the tricky thing. You want to go slow, and you want to pay attention to where you're placing your pieces. And, so now let's get to stacking in general. So when you're stacking, right? Let's say you're stacking, you keep stacking, you're just stacking, just doing some normal stacking. And what you see here is a very uneven board. You have this spike here which goes above, the playing field, and then you have this very low area over here. So this is also what you want to avoid. You want to try and keep your stack relatively even, because this divides your board. And it also makes stacking much harder, because when you only have 3 blocks wide here, it limits the kinds of pieces you can place. So right, if I can place this, I can do this, but you see if I place this Z piece here, it creates a dependency. So when you have, you know, a separate board like this, things can get much more difficult. So when you're stacking, you want to try and keep your board even. So just try to like visualize the top of your board, right? So this here is pretty even. It's only, see, 3 block disparity here. So when you're stacking, okay, ignore that. I guess this is something that comes with Tetris when you complete a level. Right, so when you're stacking here, what you notice here is that by placing the eyepiece here, your board is very jagged. It's not even. So what you want to do is try and even it out. So this part is very low. So I want to be placing pieces here. And now the board is much more even, right? It's pretty flat. And when you're stacking, you want to generally keep it this way. You keep the board flat, right? So I'm stacking, it's flat. I'm not creating dependencies, or if I create a dependency, I'm able to resolve it. So this here, you have another jagged board. So now you want to resolve this. And you see now, the board is pretty flat again once more. So when you're stacking, try to keep your board flat, right? Of course, you know, you don't have to be going this fast. You can go at your own pace. So you want to keep it flat. But not all, you know, flat boards are the same. For example, if I have this board here, right? Now this is a very good stack because I can place a lot of pieces here. I can put a Z piece, I can put an S piece, I can put a T piece, I can put an O piece like this, I could put a T piece on one of the sides, I could put L piece or J piece like this, you know, all of those will work, right? But so that's a good even board, right? You can put a variety of blocks there. It's very versatile. But let's say we have this, right? The board is a even, yeah, there's only a 2 block disparity, but is this a good board? Not necessarily, because you can't put all of the pieces there, so you want to be careful. If you have a very jagged board, that's not good, right? So let's say I do this, right? And now my board is very jagged, right? There's no good place for me to put my O piece. If I put it here, then it creates an I dependency, and if I put it anywhere else, it's not going to be even. So when you're stacking, you also want to pay attention to sort of how jagged or non-jagged your board is, right? So right here, this part here is pretty jagged. This part here is jagged. So I want to make these flat when possible, right? So if you look here, it's kind of like a slope. There's no flat area. There's no place for me to put my O piece comfortably. So I want to try and make the stack flat. Right, so now you see the stack is pretty flat. Right, I can end level complete again, but you see the stack is flat. There are there are 2 wide places, 3 wide places, 1 wide places. So this allows you to put any piece you want. So so just remember to keep your board relatively even, right? Relatively even when it comes to jaggedness, and also keep your board relatively even in relation to the disparity between the top and the bottom. And remember to resolve these dependencies, right? So those are the very basics of stacking, but if we get more complicated, well, you see here we have a hold function, right? The hold function is very useful. With the hold function, let's say, you know, I don't want this O piece, I can just hold it. And then now, excuse me, I can just place the next piece in my queue. So that is also very useful, right? So let's say, oh, there's no good place for me to put my T piece. I don't want it. So you know, wherever I put it, it's going to block my well, or it's going to create a dependency, or it's going to make the board too jagged. So then I'll hold it and wait for a better piece. Right, so now that gives you a bit of freedom to choose sort of how you want to go about stacking. And when it comes to freedom, nothing is better than your queue. Now this is very useful. You need to start getting used to looking at your queue if you want to be able to stack evenly, because looking at your queue is how you will avoid creating dependencies and how you will have a nice, smooth, even board. So I have this T piece here, right? I see in my queue, I have an S piece. So if I put it here, right, of course I can put my S piece in other places, but I see that it's going to block a pretty good place because I can fit it right in like this. And if I fit it in like this, then I can put my O piece over here, you know, L piece over here, and then I can do this, I can do this, I can do this, I can stack all of this. So, when it comes to your queue, you want to look ahead. Now this is a skill that comes with practice, right? Of course, when you start out, you're going to be slow. So you're thinking, okay, I have S piece, Z piece, J piece. How do I want to go about this? I don't know. I could do this. That is a possible way to start. It may not be the best way to start, right? So, but it is possible. And I messed up there, but you want to look ahead in your queue to avoid doing the 3 things previously mentioned: creating dependencies, creating uneven stacks, and creating stacks with large height disparities. So for beginner stackers, if you're just getting introduced to modern guideline Tetris, these are some very good places to start. Just try stacking. Play a game of Sprint, play Ultra, play whatever mode you like. You can even play against others if you want, but that is slightly more complicated. But when it just comes to stacking itself, you need to get these fundamentals down, and then you can start learning about some more advanced skills. But yeah, that's about it for this video. If you have anything you'd like to see or any questions, leave it in a comment below, and I'll see you guys later.